Welcome to the Colts Squad Show. I'm your host, Derek Schultz. And guys, I just did the math, and I think Jonathan Taylor can score 40 touchdowns this season.
And I'm Zach Hicks, and what a snooze fest. The Colts can sleepwalk their way to 38 points against the Tennessee Titans.
I'm Alan Pinkett, former Oiler, and just another average performance by the Colts offense.
Colts Nation, rise up. It's the Colts Squad. Everything Indianapolis Colts every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Circle City, the way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. It's time to squad up. The Colts Squad Show starts now.
Welcome to the Colts Squad Show. I'm your host, Derek Schultz. Thanks so much for joining us on the Locked On Colts Network. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app. Create an account and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. I'm joined by the legendary Notre Dame and former NFL running back Alan Pinkett, and you everydayers, of course, know Zach Hicks, half of the dynamic duo of Locked On Colts, everybody's favorite listen every day. And unfortunately, Jake will be unable to join us right now. He is at, once again, a very celebratory and happy Lucas Oil Stadium as the Colts rout the Titans 38-14 to grab another win and move to 7-1, a game that really turned into a laugher in the third quarter. Today on the Colts Squad Show, we'll be talking about how Indy overcame a slow start to look again like their usual selves. Speaking of his usual self, Jonathan Taylor, 3 more touchdowns, forcing a running back into the MVP conversation for the first time in a long time. I know Alan's going to be happy about that. Week 8 studs and duds. That's what we do after every post-game show, talking about some of the good and bad individual performances. And the schedule getting considerably tougher in the coming weeks. I'd say things starting to get real, Zach, but you know, the Chargers are really good. The Broncos are really good. Like, I don't want to hop into the national fray here and start doubting the Colts. You're not supposed to win half your games by 20-plus points. You're just not. And what the Colts keep doing, even after, like you said, sort of, you know, a very sleepy first half, a very flat first half, still coming out and laying the wood on the Titans. I just think it shows where this team is right now.
Yeah, and again, it speaks volumes to this team. I know they went against Tennessee Titans today, a team that can't get out of their own way, but I mean, again, they were sleepwalking through that first half. I thought it was like a C performance from them in that first half. And they were still up by double digits at halftime. And then to turn it up a notch when they got to that second half in the third quarter, Jonathan Taylor with the big statement run to start the quarter. Daniel Jones got back into form, I think, that rest of that third quarter as well. And the Colts were able just to steamroll to another big victory. This team's just good, man. Like, again, we're running out of things to talk about on this show every single week because it's kind of becoming the same old every single week, where it's like the Colts offense is good for 30-plus points, even if the processes aren't as perfect each week or they're winning in different ways, they're going to score their 30-plus points. And the defense is going to give up some explosive plays, but they're going to make some timely sacks, some timely stops, and get off the field. And the Colts are going to win football games that way. So, yeah, man, it's insane what we're seeing. Like, I don't think that anyone expected this coming into the year, even the most optimistic Colts fan. If I told you we're going to be 7-1 after the first 8 games with one of the best offenses in NFL history through this period, it's crazy, man. And I just want to give the biggest shout out in the world, though, to all the Colts skill players in this game. Most notably, obviously, Jonathan Taylor with his 12 carries for like 150 yards in this one. But also just looking at the wide receiver trio, Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, and Michael Pittman Jr. You know, it's tough being a wide receiver in the NFL with that ego that you have to play wide receiver, right? None of these guys have a 100-yard game this year. The Colts have 0 100-yard gains from their receiving core this season. But in this offense, man, everybody eats. All those wide receivers were big-time performers. All of them, I think, above 50. I mean, Pierce had above 50 on the one catch, but I think all those guys are well over 50 yards in this game. Pittman just under 100. Downs got a touchdown catch. Pierce, obviously, again, made those big-time catches. So, yeah, man, these guys are just clicking. Michael Pittman Jr. made some great catches on that second touchdown drive, too. These skill position players are playing out of their minds right now. And again, you're not going to say any of these guys are the next Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson or anything like that, but what they're doing on their individual levels in their offense and when they are called upon, they are stepping up and making big time plays. Every single wide receiver on this team, every tight end on this team, every running back on this team, the skill position players are going crazy for the Colts this year. And we saw it today in big fashion.
Well, what I'll add is, I do preach that on any given Sunday, a team can beat you, and that you have to be mature and understand that these are pros, and there's no bad teams in the NFL. There's only teams with bad records. But I'm guilty as charged too when it comes to playing a team that's only won one game this year. It's like, you're going to beat their ass. Yes. So the human factor does enter in. And I think that contributed to maybe a little bit of the sloppiness. I credit to Tennessee because they did fight throughout the game. They were outmanned. They did have a few more people injured than they usually do, but they were outmanned. I do think one of the things that contributed to the sluggishness was, I think the Colts sometimes on offense get bored to do their basic stuff, and it works. And so on that first series, when they tried the little screen pass, which was cute and everything, it put them behind the sticks, got them off schedule. Those are the football terms we use nowadays. And that contributes to them kicking a field goal on the first drive instead of scoring a touchdown. And I think that probably put them out of sync. But they, like I said, are a mature team, and we're able to get back in sync. And, as far as the running game today, how good is it to have a team and have talent where if one phase isn't working up to par, another phase can be super. And I know we're going to get into JT a lot later, but sometimes as a running back, you walk into a game and you just feeling it. And you're making the reads quicker. You're a little bit faster. To me, Jonathan Taylor just seemed a little bit faster today, a little bit quicker. And, when the offensive line did get in sync, they were making holes you could drive an 18-wheeler through. So, credit to them for realizing, okay, yes, this team is 1-6, but if we want to prove we want to win another game, then we got to step on the gas and play our game and get the outcome that we want.
Yeah, and look, when you look around the league at some of the other teams that we're viewing as, let's say AFC contenders, Zach, you made a great point on Twitter. Just about everybody else has a much closer scrape than what the Colts have. I guess you could say the Cardinals game, even though I don't put the Cardinals in the same category as like the Raiders and the Dolphins and Tennessee. The Colts are just leaving no doubt. They're not even putting themselves in a position to possibly lose the game. Whereas we've seen other teams in the NFL put themselves, even good, great teams, even teams that won the Super Bowl, we saw them put themselves repeatedly in situations where they could lose to inferior opponents. And the Colts, they're just not doing that, Zach.
No, they're taking care of business against the bad teams. And again, we said that early in the year when they were beating the Dolphins and the Raiders and the Titans early in the season, we were saying that like the good teams in this league, they put away the bad teams and then they fight and they scrape with all the good teams. Now, coming up the rest of the year, outside of a couple of games here and there, like the Falcons, maybe not as good as what we thought they were going to be. We'll see them in a couple weeks, but the Colts have a lot of good teams left on their schedule. So we're going to see them fight and claw in those games and really fight for everything. But the games that were, again, not gimmies, because the NFL is not like college football. There's no gimmies in the NFL, especially divisional games. It's hard to beat down the same team twice in the NFL because pride comes in, because these guys are paid millions of dollars to scheme against you and make adjustments. So it is hard to beat down the same team twice. We saw the Eagles beat up on the Giants today, but the first time they played, they lost to the Giants in that game. But I think it's a testament to how good this Colts team is, that when they got a lot of these, below average to poor teams that they played, they left no doubt whatsoever. They were sitting their starters going to the fourth quarter in pretty much every single one of these games. And Derek, you mentioned the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals might be the best 2-5 team in football. Yeah. I mean, gosh, no matter who they play against, they will be in a one-score game late in the fourth quarter. It could be the 85 Bears, or it could be the Aints from back in the day. They would take that team to one score in the fourth quarter because that's how they are. But yeah, no, this Colts team, man, they play some good football. And they take care of business. And I'm not even going to rule it out that some of these teams down the stretch, the Colts aren't going to win by 2 or 3 scores as well, because Who's stopping this offense right now? Jonathan Taylor averaged like over 10 yards a carry today. Who's stopping this offense? Daniel Jones, I think, by all accounts, this was like a C-plus game from Daniel Jones on the year, right? And that was still like 270 and 3 touchdowns. Like, if you told me before the year this was going to be a C or a C-plus game from Daniel Jones, I would have told you you're crazy. This would have been a career performance from him. But it's kind of just what our expectations are for him on Sundays now, and our expectations for this offense. So I think that Alan said a great point earlier, where it's like, we have this offense now where like the phases can pick each other up. If one area of the offense is struggling, you have all these other areas that can pick them up. The passing game takes some bad sacks early, misses a deep ball to Alec Pierce, has some struggles. Don't worry, Jonathan Taylor will average 15 yards a carry, 10 plus yards a carry, whatever it is. Like, they have these ways to pick themselves up and get points regardless. They had one of the best short yardage offenses in football as well. It's just a machine on that side of the ball. And I think people are looking at these upcoming defenses down the stretch. We'll talk about in the final segment, but I think it's more so those defenses are looking at the Colts saying, oh crap, we have to go against this offense. It's not really, I mean, you can look at it for the Colts too, but this Colts offense is just a machine. And I'm scared for any defense that has to try to game plan against them.
Well, it was interesting, to see some different names on the defensive side of the ball. But I think your main players are still holding up the defense, and it's a, to me, bend but don't break. But I think they got good pressure on Cam Ward. I think that we got a chance to see that Cam Ward in a couple of years is going to be a dynamic quarterback. Just seeing how cool under pressure he is. But the Colts were still able to affect him and make some balls come out sooner than they needed to, and they were able to reach him a couple of times. But I think the Colts are definitely fortunate to face him right now before he gets good. It sort of reminds me when Cam Newton came in the league, and Cam Newton was really torching people in the first few games before teams figured out what they were going to do to him. But I think the defense really did a great job, especially holding them to 7 points, all the way until, I don't know, the fourth quarter. And
garbage time. Yeah.
Yeah, it was garbage time. And it's, I think, probably one of the most satisfying things to see an offense take a chunk of time off the clock and not get any points for it. That means the defense is doing their job. But like you said, Zach, the offense, I mean, when they're humming, it's just a joy to watch. And that's why I said it was another average game, because, 38 points is pretty close to their average. And they can find a lot of ways to beat you, and don't want to shower them with too many superlatives, because they are going to a portion of their schedule where we've talked about the fact that the only people that can beat the Colts are the Colts, but we also are fortunate that the Colts' health is in a position now where they are 100% in full stride to face some of these teams, and so you hope that they can keep everybody healthy, because that gives them the best chance to have success for the rest of the year. But so far, very, very impressed with what they're doing, and no reason to think that they can't keep it up against other talent in the NFL.
Yeah, and one quick thing I want to say about the defense too is I do think they do a lot of bend don't break things well, just in terms of taking the football away, finishing on sacks, and getting some good pressures here and there, and forcing the quarterback to speed up. But I do think the two things that we really need to see this defense just bring down a little bit more to be like a really good bend don't break. Third down defense needs to be a little bit better, a little bit leaky on third down, especially third and long. And I want to see those explosive plays in the passing game just come down a little bit more. Even if that means you're giving up the flats a little bit more to offenses, I'm fine with that if we can take away the deep post and the deep in breakers and digs. But overall, I think the defense is still getting where it needs to be. It's tough when you're throwing out guys like Cameron Mitchell and Darrell and Chami for a ton of snaps in this game. Buddy Johnson at linebacker was out there for a good chunk as well. So I'm not trying to say anything bad about these players. I actually thought they played commendably well, considering where it was in this one. They held the Titans to 7 points and forced an interception in the fourth quarter with their backup defense. But I do want to see just a little bit more things clean up. But I think the defense is getting where it needs to be. Just keep forcing turnovers, getting sacks, and please improve the third down defense a little bit more, and we'll be good on that side of the ball.
Yeah, and I think some of their struggles are magnified by the fact the offense is so good, right? Like, I think the defense overall is fine. It's not, it's not a great unit, obviously. I don't think it's a bad one either, especially considering the injury situation. But, it's like me, I'm a triplet, and I had two sisters that made honor roll. So my report card compared to theirs always looked comparatively worse. I was the Colts defense of my family, guys. If you want me to make the worst analogy ever. We come back on the show. When we talk about the MVP award, a lot of people view it as a quarterback one, but will a running back force voters to reconsider? We're going to discuss that as the Colts Squad Show keeps on rolling. Stay with us. This portion of the Colts Squad Show brought to you by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement of this sports season. Whether you're following the NFL, NBA, or both, there's no better time to jump in on the action with PrizePicks. If you haven't tried it yet, PrizePicks is the simplest way to play. Just pick more or less on any two player stats, and if you get them right, you win. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup, and you can play anywhere PrizePicks operates, including California, Texas, and Georgia. PrizePicks is quick and easy, and it has all kinds of features. They have something called stacks where you can stack several categories in the same lineup. For instance, if I want to pick Michael Pittman Jr.'s catches, yards, and touchdowns, I can stack all three in the same PrizePicks lineups. It's great. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. This portion of the show also brought to you by Rugiet. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired. It happens to be everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support, and that's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rugiet makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online. No awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. Visit rugiet.com/LockedOnNFL to get 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com/LockedOnNFL. And don't forget to use our code LOCKEDONMLB so they know that we sent you. Rugiet, stop making excuses and start making moves. And we're back on the Locked On Colts Squad Show. Thanks so much for joining us immediately following Indy's easy 38-14 win over the Titans. God, it's so nice that they're beating the Titans again. Remember that stretch where they lost 5 in a row, and it was like the sky was falling because the Colts have dominated this series for so long, and now it feels like everything is right again. Indy has now won 6 straight since that 5-game losing skid. But, guys, I had mentioned MVP, and I think everybody knows the running back I'm talking about, and it's not Bijan Robinson. It's Jonathan Taylor. 3 more touchdowns for Taylor, 174 total yards and 3 tuds on 14 touches. And that's what's so crazy to me, Zach. The efficiency here has been insane. Our mutual friend, Joel A. Erickson of the Indy Star, tweeted out something. I think he was doing Ask Joel at halftime. And I just saw it in passing, so I'm not sure exactly what point. It was after one of Taylor's touchdowns, obviously. And he was comparing it to the 2021 season, and he said, it was a big difference here. I know you have a character limit, so you can't kind of get into all the context. But remember in 2021, it was hand it to him 50 times and pray that he was going to save you, right? Because that's all they had, especially late in the season when Carson Wentz was really kind of crumbling and the pass offense just wasn't where it needed to be. Now it's almost like he's the guy that you have him come in and just throw uppercuts. Like he's there to land the KO blow. That's how it feels. Like you soften him up, and then bang, when you get close or in the red zone. And it's a formula that's really worked for the Colts here through 8 games.
Yeah, Derek, I think honestly the best way to describe Jonathan Taylor this year, and I know we get a little bit mixed in the first half, so it's not the perfect comparison, but like it's like in baseball, you have Daniel Jones is like your starting pitcher. He comes out there, he kind of gets you a secure lead early, and then Jonathan Taylor's like your entire bullpen. He's all your relief pitchers, and he's also your closer as well, where if you're going to hand a lead to him, the Colts are going to win these games, and I said it at halftime where, some people were like, oh, why does he only have 8 carries in the first half? And I'm like, look, the Colts have a 10-point lead going into the second half. We know what the second half is going to be. It's going to be the Jonathan Taylor show. And honestly, it wasn't too many in the second half because he just kept taking them for touchdowns. So we didn't even really get the Jonathan Taylor show today in the second half. But yeah, he's like having this like perfect bullpen and closer in baseball, where if you can give any kind of lead to him in that second half, it's over, man. Like you're not going to stop this guy in the third and fourth quarter. And to get to the overall point here about MVP, I'm a big proponent of, look, voters are just not going to vote for a running back anymore. It's just never going to happen in the modern analytic-based NFL where quarterbacks are just so immensely valuable. And the biggest argument against Jonathan Taylor is how many wins were these Colts teams getting when it was Jonathan Taylor and any other quarterback, but you get Daniel Jones in here and all of a sudden they're the best team in football. That's going to be the hardest argument to make for Jonathan Taylor. But at some point, the counting stats are going to be so incredible, it's hard to really deny it. Like he almost is, like, as long as he stays healthy the rest of the season, he's a lock for Offensive Player of the Year, I think, for sure. And he's going to get MVP votes at this point. I mean, again, he's averaging almost 6 yards a carry right now. He's getting 3 touchdowns a week, it feels like. He's a big contributor in the passing game. He's been an outstanding pass blocker as well. It's going to be hard to make the argument just because, again, MVPs are just not given to running backs anymore. But he's going to have some of the craziest counting stats we've seen if he stays healthy this entire season. And one thing we're not talking about enough here, guys, is historically, Jonathan Taylor is way better in December than he is to start the year. He has always been think about last December. He ran for almost 700 yards in the 4 games in December last year. Like, he is traditionally much better in the closing couple games. Most of his 200-yard games in his career have come in those final couple weeks of the season. So if we're thinking he's great right now, if he stays healthy to the final month of the season, he might get over to that 2,000 yards that Barkley hit last year because he's going to go crazy in December. So yeah, it's going to be hard to make the case, but like the counting stats are going to be so insane, where especially if you compare him to like past running backs who have won MVPs, like he's on a better pace than Adrian Peterson was in Peterson's MVP year, especially the touchdowns. He's already got more touchdowns this year than Peterson had in his MVP season. Like he's making a case for like a Sean Alexander, Priest Holmes, Larry Johnson type touchdown season this year, and he's not even getting a quarter of the carries that those guys were getting. Those guys were getting like 400 carries in the season. So yeah, it's crazy, man. He is playing some outstanding football. I never would have expected to see a player with his experience in the NFL make this kind of jump. This is what, year 6 for him? Year 5, year 6 for him? Year 6 for him. Never thought I'd see a player in year 6 who was already this like all-world player making the jump he has this year, not only as a pass blocker and a pass catcher, but even as a runner this year. Like, his contact balance has been better than it's ever been this year. Somehow he's gotten faster this season than he has looked the last 2 years somehow. I thought that he lost his speed when he got those ankle injuries the last 2 years, but all of a sudden he's hitting 22 miles per hour on the regular basis this season. And then he never gets tackled for negative yards. It's like a 6% rate, 7% rate getting tackled for negative yards. He is the best running back in football by a large margin, and that's in the NFL with Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson, who are fantastic rushers. Jonathan Taylor is the best running back in football. So I think he's going to get MVP votes for sure by the end of the year if he keeps this up.
Well, and Zach, you point out something that I had to remember. He's in his 6th year. Usually the shelf life of a full-time running back, your main horse, is about 6 years. After 6 years, you start to digress a little bit. But this guy keeps getting stronger and stronger. And look, I agree also with you that it's going to be hard for a running back to get MVP. If Saquon Barkley couldn't get the MVP last year, going over 2,000 yards. Now, I realize that when you compare to Eric Dickerson and Adrian Peterson, they played one less game. All right. But one thing you can look at, though, is with the number of touchdowns he has, compare him to LaDainian Tomlinson, who in 2006 got the MVP. Now, he had 28 rushing touchdowns, and we're at the halfway point of the season where Jonathan Taylor has 14. Maybe it's the touchdowns and not the yards that get him more MVP votes. But it's contemporary professional football has gone to the quarterback. But I did want to speak on one more thing on this 80-yard run. All right. And this is, I'm going to give you a little running back insight, because it looks like he just ran straight to the sideline and then outran everybody. But, you know, one of the things he did is when he broke out into the open field, he sort of climbed on the defensive back. And that means you sort of straighten out your run to make that defensive back. I think it was Xavier Woods was the first one who had a shot at him. He just went straight at him. All it takes is a couple of steps to make that defensive back reroute himself. Because if he just went straight to the sideline, then Xavier Woods would have caught him. But he not only affected Xavier Woods, he affected Monty Hooker because of that. It was very subtle. Just lets me straighten up, climb on the defensive back, then break it outside. And then his speed, he has legitimate speed, because you're not supposed to be able to outrun a DB. These DBs are former track stars. They can run. They got to run with these fast-ass wide receivers. So a running back is not supposed to be able to outrun them. But, I mean, when he hit that corner, oh, my God. But, yeah, just wanted to give you a teeny bit of how you run when you get out in the open. How do some backs break more big runs than other backs? Is because you got to do a couple little things, little subtle things that allow you to create more space so you can outrun them. So just wanted to point that out. And that's the kind of stuff that an MVP would do.
Yeah, and the balance on the sideline. I mean, Andrew Catalon, who was on the call for CBS today, I think he said, I'm paraphrasing here, but it was like, and he's still going, and he's still going. And I had the same exact reaction at home. Like, I just assumed that he had stepped out of bounds, because I'm like, there's no way that he tightrope that while running 22 miles an hour. And he tight-roped it while running 22 miles. I mean, there was no doubt. There was no white on his shoes whatsoever. And it really is incredible. And I do wonder, Zach, like both you guys, I mean, I understand that the NFL has changed in the sense that, and probably rightfully so, right? That running back is much more a fungible position than what quarterback is. Like, I think we all get that's not just an analytics thing. That's just reality. That said, if things, you know, if this is an historic level offense for 17 games and the Colts go 15-2 and Taylor is their best player and he scores 25, 27, whatever, something touchdowns. I mean, you know, like, is he really going to finish behind Baker Mayfield if that, you know what I mean? Like, come on. I know that I'm drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit here, but I do think that there is a scenario now. It's a far-fetched one, maybe, that he could really, really push for it and get some voters to maybe reconsider.
Well, I mean, at the current rate, we're about halfway through the season, so we can basically project out the way this year is going to go, right? So as of right now, if Taylor continues this historic pace in the second half, he's going to have right around 2,000 total yards, a little over that, and like 30 total touchdowns this season. But the biggest issue here is his quarterback's going to finish with 4,000 yards, almost 30 touchdowns total, and like 4 turnovers if we project this out over the course of the year. And they're going to steal votes from each other. That's going to be the biggest problem if they, you know, if this copies over to the second half of the year. Obviously, you know, I hope it does, but we'll see exactly what happens there. But yeah, I think the only way he would win it is if he gets over 2,000 total yards, nearly 30 total touchdowns, and Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, and I guess Lamar Jackson's out of it. But Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes both just are average the rest of the season. Because even if he hits those crazy numbers, if those guys are even close in the conversation, the default votes are going to go to them. I mean, Josh Allen won a default MVP last year. I love Josh Allen, but like he shouldn't have won the MVP last year. That's just how it is. So yeah, it's just how it's a narrative award. And I guess look, a lot of the narrative award with it comes down to those like premier wins and stuff. So if they go to Kansas City in a couple weeks and Taylor runs for 200 and they win that game, that helps. That's a big part of it. But the standard is just so insanely hard for running backs in the modern football. But man, he is playing some great football. Like, I don't even care about the MVP conversation with it. I just want to acknowledge that this is like one of the greatest running back seasons I've ever seen. And I watched 2021. Every single week of Taylor in 2021, I watched. And defenses knew the run was coming because it's the only thing the Colts could do on offense for the second half of that year, and they couldn't stop it. This is more impressive, in my opinion, because this is a complete running back. In every phase, every facet, he's your elite closer. You get little sprinkles of him in the first half as well. He's doing everything for this team, and he's a piece of the greatness of this offense, but he's the biggest piece of that greatness.
Yeah, and the offensive line, let's give them their flowers too. I know we're going to talk about some of them studs and duds wise, but man, some of the running lanes in the early portion of the game were just insane. I'm not saying that I could run through them, but I think I would have at least had positive yardage. I mean, that's how much the seas kind of parted.
Too far for me. I would have fumbled that ball in the backfield.
I think what they're calling the Fabulous Five because they were pushing people out of the way, and just when look, having a back like Jonathan Taylor actually puts the offensive line in an advantageous position, because if they can be a flat back and go smack somebody in the mouth, that's what they would prefer to do, as opposed to dropping back, catch, punch, put this hand here, step this way, be mechanical. No, just go and run over the dude right in front of you. That's what they would rather do.
Yeah, and the best thing is they run so much play action that they're run blocking on passing plays in most of these opportunities as well. So they're just getting this offensive line is run blocking on like 70% of their plays this year, if you count play action and RPOs. And they're having a lot of fun out there, and they're doing some great things.
Yeah, they're mauling dudes for sure. A lot more studs than duds after a blowout win, including one veteran Colt who actually matched a career high already, and it's only week 8. We'll tell you who that is when we come back here on the Colt Squad Show. This portion of the Colts Squad Show brought to you by our friends at Gametime. NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans and cheering on your team like many of you did at Lucas Oil Stadium. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle. Between queues and login screens and prices jumping at checkout, it's frustrating. That's why I use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by the Gametime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. You guys have heard me talk about the Gametime zone deals. It's my favorite feature because all you have to do is pick the section you want to sit in, and Gametime picks the seats for you that are the best deal, saving you big money. But you know what else? I can also see the exact view from my seat before buying by looking in the app. It's the best way to buy tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket. Go. Download Gametime today. And we're back once again on the Locked On Colts Squad Show. Really appreciate you joining us. For all of our live viewers right now. And we always have an active YouTube comment community, which we really appreciate. But if you guys are watching this or listening to this after the fact, either video version, audio version, we really appreciate it. And be sure to make Locked On Colts your first listen every day. Of course, Jake and Zach do the heavy lifting. Alan and I just kind of fly in here middle of the week on Wednesdays and then come back after games. And our job's really easy, Alan, because we just keep talking about wins every single week for the 7-1 Colts here. Best record in the NFL. Guys, we always play studs and duds, and I actually wanted to lead. This is the first time in a while that maybe we weren't going to lead Jonathan Taylor because we just spent an entire segment on him, or talking about Daniel Jones, because even though he was certainly fine today, I don't know if you'd put him in the stud category. Michael Pittman Jr. matched a career high now with his 6th touchdown catch of the season. That already passes all but one of his seasons. I mean, this is a guy that I think had 3 and 4 touchdowns the last 3. This is a guy that has not really been getting in the end zone during his career, yet he's been a constant end zone threat this year with Daniel Jones and this offense. And Zach, that drive, I mean, he makes like the off the helmet juggling catch and then the one-hander as well. You talk about all the guys on this team that have found a new gear, that are veterans. It's year 6 for MPJ too, and here he is, year 6, playing the best football of his career.
It's so crazy with this offense, though, because each guy had their own drive today. You know, the first drive of the game was Josh Downs' drive, had almost 50 yards on that first drive receiving, right? Then you go to the Michael Pittman drive on the second drive, which was absolutely insane. The way that he was able to come away with those two catches were just out of this world. Then later in the game, you had the Pierce drive where he had the 60-yard catch or whatever up the right sideline. You have all the other Jonathan Taylor drives in there. The skill group that they have on offense, like they can just cycle whoever they want to go to, you know, just depending on what you're doing. So yeah, when Michael Pittman Jr. was called upon today, especially to make a couple tough catches that he had to make, he made them. He did some great stuff. He is a pro's pro. He has always been what's the terminology? A lunch pail guy, you know, one of those guys who he catches all the balls over the middle of the field. He takes the big hits. He catches them in traffic. Like he is a coach's dream at wide receiver. You know, every coach would love a Josh Downs and an Alec Pierce as well, and Tyler Warren, of course. But a Michael Pittman Jr. is like the guy that when they take their teach tapes to the high school coaches or the college coaches and like, oh, this is what we do in the NFL. It's all Michael Pittman Jr. film because this is what you want every player in the NFL to be. You know, you want them to be tough like this guy, putting his body on the line. And last year was a tough season for Michael Pittman Jr. Had that back injury all season, was hardly able to move on Sundays, but he still gutted it out and played in all those games for the Colts. This year he's healthy. He's in a good, just machine-like offense, and he's showcasing what he can do at a high level. So, I mean, studs are just all the skill position players for the Colts, but Michael Pittman Jr. on that drive was absolutely insane.
Well, I would just say he's a wonderful teammate because if you look around the league at a majority of number one receivers, they are divas. Oh, yeah. And I know that, you know, from my playing days, the guys that talked the most smack were the farthest away from contact most of the time. That's the defensive backs and the wide receivers. You know, if they were in interior line in that mesh, they wouldn't talk as much because they'd be getting hit more. But you know, I just appreciate the work ethic that Michael Pittman shows. You know, it's just a quiet, calm aggressiveness, do your job mentality. And I guess an appreciation for, you know, when I do have an opportunity, I'm going to step on the gas, but I'm going to help my teammates. And can't say enough about the touchdown catch that he made because that really showed that this is a top flight receiver, how he was able to maneuver his body, make the catch, and stay in bounds. I don't know if folks ever try to simulate making a catch and keeping your feet in bounds, running full speed with a DB all over your back, you know, but they get paid a lot of money to do it, but it's still a beautiful thing to see when a receiver can execute it. And I tell you, the good play is sort of a contagious thing when you're on a team that makes good plays, and it makes Mondays a lot more fun because you have to watch the film the day after the game, and it's so much more pleasurable to watch in a win, but then to also watch some of the special plays. And, you know, sometimes you gain an appreciation for yourself when you see a play that you made. And when you see yourself make a play like that, you gain more confidence. And you gain more confidence in the fact that whenever the ball is in the air, you know that ball is mine. If it's anywhere near my wingspan or my reach. And that's sort of how you have to operate as a receiver, is you have to lock in and know that ball is mine when it's coming in the air. And that's a tough thing to do. It's sort of like, I would compare it to sitting in a batter's box and staring down a 90-mile-an-hour fastball when I know if I see a 50-mile-an-hour fastball, I'm going to jump out of the box. But there's just a mentality. You got to lock in to know that, okay, this ball's coming at 90 and I'm going to hit the SOB. And so it's a tough job, but, you know, I think these receivers make it look, I wouldn't say easy, but they just do such a great job at what they're paid to do.
Yeah, no, for sure. And to get some more studs here, obviously the offensive line we have to talk about just for a second here. This offensive line's been blocking out of their mind, especially the left side of the offensive line, Bortolini, Quentin Nelson, Bernhard Raimann. We sound like a broken record talking about them at this point, and we've given a lot of love to the offense here. So with that, just again, you guys know how hard this is for me to move on from offensive line real quick, but I want to say the interior defensive line as well for the Colts. I thought played some outstanding football. Their run defense, I would say like the last month of play has been so much better than what it was earlier in the season. They're getting a lot better in success rate. And a lot of their issues too in run defense now are just on those like outside runs, like that big 50-yard run in the first quarter was outside the tackles. If these teams are running inside the tackles, though, the Colts have this wealth of players, these 4 defensive tackles that are playing out of their mind. DeForest Buckner has really come alive these last 2 weeks, had some great pressures, including that huge 4th down sack in this one. Grover Stewart, a couple run stuffs, and another pass batted down at the line of scrimmage. He keeps doing that every single week. And then the 2 reserve guys, Neville Gallimore with a big-time hustle sack late in the game there on the sideline to Cam Ward. Adetomiwa had a sack today as well. Like, this interior defensive line room is really, really good for the Colts. So, like, when we talk about, like, hanging your hat on some things on defense, at least this interior defensive line room is playing some really great football, getting better in the run game, and we're starting to see a lot of pressure generated from that interior.
And just to elaborate on your point, DeForest Buckner, this is year 10. Yeah. And Grover Stewart, year 9, and it really feels like they're getting better. Like, how long can they play at that level? You know, when you're knocking heads every single play, but imposing size, it makes me feel glad I'm not in the league anymore to have to dodge one of those guys or get hit by one of those guys. But I mean, at 9 and 10 years in the league, they're as athletic as any rookie I've seen play interior line.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why it's one of the best duos in the entire NFL. I mean, they just keep doing it year after year after year. Guys, if we're going to talk duds, I had trouble coming up with something. I guess like the edge pass rush again was not great. I don't know if there was any like standout dud performance, but either of you have any that came to mind?
Yeah, can we do duds for the other team? Because the cowardly coaching by a 1-6 team is laughable.
Punt.
Is laughable. Yeah. How not even just the one punt, multiple punts on like 4th and 3 on the Colts side of the field. I think obviously the biggest one is the punt that ended up being a touchback, and then Jonathan Taylor runs for a touchdown the next play, and it's like, what are you doing? And this is where you like, I'm going to lump it back around to a studs for the Colts, where I love that we never had this issue with the Colts coaching staff. Like, love them or hate them, the best moments, worst moments, whatever it's going to be. This coaching staff for the Colts, it goes for the jugular, man. They are cutthroat in everything they do. And if I ever saw this Colts team punting on a 4th and under 5 on the opponent side of the field, I would lose I would think Shane Steichen got pulled off the field and somebody else was calling plays. They would never do that. And that kind of cowardly coaching in the modern NFL is losing you games. And I think the Titans honestly lost this game. I mean, obviously the Colts were probably going to win this game regardless because they were winning the penalty margin and they won the turnover game by the end of it. But if this Colts team wasn't turning the ball over, they were going to win this game. But I think the biggest reason this became a blowout is because of the cowardly coaching on the other side of the ball. So duds for the Titans, but studs for the Colts that we never have to worry about that. This Colts team will go for it in a lot of those situations, and they're one of the best short yardage offenses in the league. Like, they have that confidence because they know when they get to 4th and short, they're going to go. I just hate cowardly football, cowardly coach, especially when you're such a bad team. Like, show some fight, show some pride.
What do you have to lose?
Yeah, right,
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, the Colts have everything to lose, right? Every week, because they're this really good team right now. So you could maybe, like, you can't even understand if the Colts were to do something like that. But, like, you know, if you're a good team, if you're a bad team, you have nothing to go for it on your own 20 on 4th and 1. Like, whatever, who cares? You're a bad team, you know? So, yeah, that cowardly coaching made me appreciate the Colts coaching a little bit more, because regardless of whether they were last year level bad or this year level great, they've never been cowards on offense like that. They go for it. And I think that's what you need in the modern NFL to win games.
Yeah, and the players especially appreciate it when
look at Cam Ward, how upset Cam Ward was when they punted it on that one. You know, players appreciate when you trust them. A great point, Alan. Yeah,
that's it. And so you build sort of a great repertoire, because in the NFL, not in college, the head coach is the dictator. He's the leader. All right. But in the NFL, it's a partnership. In fact, you don't even call the coach. You call him by his first name, because usually the player is making more money than the coach. But it is a partnership. Well, how much better could that partnership be if y'all are on the same page and show that I am truly a partner, because I'm going to give you guys a shot at, proving that what I believe is what you also believe. And so, yeah, don't be out there playing not to lose. Let's play to win.
Yeah. You even go back to like the Broncos game. The Colts went for it on 4th and 1 around the 50, and they got stopped. And they still ended up winning that game. But I don't even if you get stopped a couple times, I like showing that faith in your offense. Even when it was last year's offense with Joe Flacco out there at times and Anthony Richardson struggles, or Minshew's offense, show the faith in your offense, man. They will reward you and move the ball. And if they don't, then you readjust. But I love just the confidence that the Colts have in their offense. And it wasn't a big prevalent in this game, obviously, but in a lot of other games we'll see, especially down the stretch when they play some better teams.
And just to mention, you look at the Detroit Lions, that Dan Campbell coach team, they expect to go for it on 4th down now.
Go for it all the time.
He's pretty much established a culture. We go for it on 4th down. Don't even question it. This is who we are. And has that team been pretty successful the last couple of years?
Colts are very similar, I think. I think the Colts explosion this year is very similar to what the Lions explosion was 2 years ago. I think it's very similar, and it comes from that confident, aggressive coaching style that we see from both these guys.
Yes. Yeah, and you could say that about the previous regime too. We really haven't dealt with those conservative calls since the Pagano era. And in Pagano's defense, 10 years ago, coaches called a different game than what they do now, right? You're kind of be judged on the era that you're in. But in 2025, Mike McCoy should not be punting on the plus side of the field, 4th and 3. Down 10 points
twice,
and you're 1-6. Yeah,
twice, man.
Not happen.
I was happy he did it, but I was
mad, and I'm rooting for the other. I'm kind of pulling for the other team, right? That shows how bad the call was.
That's why he's a former coach and an interim.
That's right. We come back on the Colts Squad Show. We'll talk about the schedule. Tighten it up here over the next couple of weeks, including Pittsburgh, who the Colts don't have the prettiest history against. Take our first look at the Steelers. We return on the Colts Squad Show. This portion of the show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. That reminds me, I got to check on the Pacers score when we're done here on the Locked On Colts Squad Show. They're playing Minnesota, I believe, right now. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com and sign up and play your game with FanDuel. New customers, $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Only at FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Back for a final time here on the Colts Squad Show. Really appreciate you joining us alongside former NFLer and Notre Dame legend Alan Pinkett and Zach Hicks of Locked On Colts. I'm Derek Schultz. Jake Arthur will rejoin us for Wednesday's show. Don't want you guys to forget, Wednesday night at 9 p.m., we've got a midweek show. We'd love for you to tune in to that when we reconvene the squad, and we'll look forward to Pittsburgh. And, guys, a lot of people talking about stretches of the schedule. And I think this kind of happens when they release the schedule, right? You talk about, okay, wow, this 4-game stretch, this 5-game stretch, whatever it is. You look at this stretch here that kind of takes you up until Christmas, in particular, the road games at Pittsburgh, at Arrowhead, at Jacksonville, at Seattle, which is always a tough trip. I don't care how good or bad or the Seahawks are. That's a difficult place to play. It always has been. It's you have the bye week in there as well, and you got the trip to Germany, right? So you lose a home game out of that stretch. So you're talking about essentially you're only going to be in front of your home crowd once, right, in the next couple of weeks. That's going to be difficult to do. But you know what, Zach, with the way that they're playing right now, I'm trying not to be overconfident, but at the same time, they've given me no reason that this thing is not sustainable and this thing can't travel.
I said it the other day on the regular show, it's like that scene from Watchmen, and I don't know how many people get the reference here, but like when Rorschach or whatever is arrested and all the criminals are closing in on him and it's like, oh, you're stuck in here with us. Like, no, you guys are stuck in here with me. I'm the one, like that's what it is. Like for all the people thinking like, oh, the schedule's getting tough for the Colts. It's getting tough for the teams that have to play the Colts, like you have to go against the Colts. And yeah, there's some tough road ones in there. And I'm actually really happy the Colts are getting this opportunity because nothing gets you better for playoff football than going to Pittsburgh, going to Kansas City, going across the country to Seattle. Like those games will get you ready for playoff football. And that's what the Colts need. I think they're a mature, experienced team, but it's time to get some battle tested experience in here. I think their experience against the Broncos, their experience against the Chargers and the Rams really did help them early this season, but now let's just keep accumulating more experience here against a Steelers team that you'll see in the playoffs, against a Kansas City team that you'll see in the playoffs. They will be in the playoffs. They're always in the playoffs. Against a Seattle team that will make the playoffs out in the NFC, just gain that experience and keep doing what you're doing. But yeah, I think for anyone looking at this and saying like, oh man, like this, we're going to see the real Colts team. I'm like, yeah, I think we are too. I think we're also going to see the real Colts team. I think they're going to exchange some blows with these teams and you're going to see how good they are. But one thing I wanted to talk about with your point here, Derek, about the Colts history with the Steelers. Yes, the Colts not recent history, but the Colts history with the Steelers has always been rough. But Shane Steichen's history against the Steelers with the Colts has been pretty nice. He smacks the Steelers around. That Steelers defense, with their spot dropping zone defense that they run, Shane Steichen loves to play against that defense. We'll see if it changes when he plays them in Pittsburgh. But I will say from my understanding of Shane Steichen in his time with the Chargers, the Eagles, and especially with the Colts, I mean, he's dropped 30 plus points or around 30 points on the Steelers every time he plays them with the Colts. I think for anyone thinking that this offense is going to take a step back, as long as they're healthy on that side of the ball, you could throw the Steelers, you could throw the Chiefs, you could throw the 85, maybe not the 85 Bears, but other teams against them. I think this offense is still going to score points. So bring it on is kind of what I'm saying. Not to be a big homer here, but like at this point, bring it on. If what they did to the Broncos defense in week 2, where they dropped almost 30 points against a defense that just suffocates everyone, didn't convince you, then sure, bring up more opponents and let's see what excuses you make after that,
Well, I kind of look at it like this. The players aren't going to overvalue or be impressed at another team when they're sitting here at 7-1. All right. And at this point, there is enough film out there that by game 8 of the season, if there was a defense that was going to stop this offense, we would have already seen it. So what it comes down to is it doesn't matter who you play or where you play. If you maintain your level of execution, then you should be all right. It doesn't matter what the level of competition is. Now, I'm not discounting that you're going to play some great teams, and Lord knows they got players on them that can make plays. We used to have to tell our assistant coaches sometimes, they say, well, you're not executing. I'm like, hey, coach, they're getting paid on the other side of the ball too. They're going to make some plays, so other teams are going to make some plays too. But at this point, if no one has come up with an answer to how to slow this offense down, it's not going to be slowed down. And that's why we say the only way for the Colts to not have success is if they beat themselves.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, there is one way to slow down this offense. They have struggled in fourth quarters when they have a 3 or 4 score lead. We have seen in the fourth quarter their offensive productivity drops a little bit. They haven't put up 50 in some of these games. It's kind of crazy, but no, I mean, yeah, they answer the bell in most of the times, in pretty much every time that someone's questioned them this year. And I'm not saying they're going to be perfect down the stretch. I'm not saying they're going to go 16-1 this year because that's just not realistic. Injuries will happen. There will be mistakes. They'll have more than just the 3 turnovers they've had in these first 8 games. Like, it's just part of football. But they're not going to like revert back to last year's Colts. This is a new team. This is a good football team. Throw anyone you want at them. I think they're going to be able to exchange punches. And yeah, there will be a couple that lose to the coin flip at the end of the game, but they're going to be right there in all these games. They are just too good of a football team.
Yeah, and keep in mind the success that they've had thus far. They welcome the competition. They want the challenge. They want to be able to go out and prove that there is this badass team that can, take on anybody. So all they're going to do is get better because they keep having success.
Yeah, and I'm a margin for error guy. And I think, Zach, you said this last week. They've really put themselves, by beating the Titans here, of course, which we were assuming anyway, at 7-1, they've put themselves in a great position because even if, you split these games, which feels like, like a real, drastic overstatement with the way that they're playing right now, you're 10-4 at Christmas. You're certainly taking the division, I think, at 10-4 at Christmas, right? With 3 games left. I mean, I think the Colts have just put themselves in a wonderful position here where even if things do get rocky, oh well. I think it's not going to be like the sky is falling. Whereas you've seen past Colts teams, last year and a couple of years where every single game in December felt like life or death because you're trying to get to 9-8 or you're trying to get to 10-7 and sneak your way in. This does not look like a team that is going to be doing any sneaking. They're smashing their way into the postseason.
Yeah, no, I said it right before the Cardinals game when I was looking at the 5 games prior to the bye. I was like, if the Colts can go 4-1 at least in that stretch, they're going to be setting themselves up for, a lot of margin for error and just the ability to really help themselves down the stretch. So if they went 4-1 in those 5 games before the bye, they'd be at 8-2. Well, right now they're sitting at 7-1 with 2 of those games left. They have a very real chance of sitting at 9-1 going into the bye week. They put themselves in such a great position this year. And I think the key is, and I know this is what Alan's rearing to say over here, is don't be satisfied with 8-2 or 9-1, keep going. Who says we can't be 10-1, 11-1, 12-1? And look, again, things happen in the NFL and you can't win them all. But I think that this team is just ready for the moment, man. They're mature. They pick each other up. And today's game was a great example where when you weren't getting the best defense in the beginning of the game, where they were allowing a lot of explosive plays and allowed that touchdown early, when Jones took a couple sacks that are really uncharacteristic, the skill position players picked him up. The O-line in the running game picked him up. Jonathan Taylor picked him up. The defense picked it up in the second half, and they were able to do some great things. So, yeah, I think this team is just ready for the moment, man. They are ready for they're a mature team that is just ready for anything in front of them. And I'm excited to see what happens down the stretch with these better teams coming up against them.
Well, you remember in the beginning of the year, we talked about some goals that players set, win your first game. All right. And then win your home games. Okay. And then win your division,
undefeated in all those so far, Alan, by the way.
Yeah. So then, that motivates you now to, instead of just, hoping to make it to the playoffs, knowing you're going to be in the playoffs, hell, let's go win our damn division and get not only a week off, which, let me tell you something, having a week off at that point in the season before the playoff run really starts, you can't imagine how healthy a team can get by just having 1 week to let some of those little nicks and bruises and things heal up. You feel so much fresher. So it's a motivating thing to say, we've done these things, we've set out and accomplished these goals. Let's get that week off. Let's get that bye week. Oh my God, because that's what intensifies your ability to get to the Super Bowl, is getting that week off. So yeah, you still go one at a time, but you still keep the stretch goal of, okay, now it looks like we can win the division. That looks like a doable thing. Shoot, let's have the best record in the AFC, and let's have home field advantage. Has home field been any good to the Colts this year so far? Why wouldn't we want to take advantage of that in a playoff format, so that when we are on offense, everybody shuts up in the crowd, and then when we're on defense, we got the one of the loudest stadiums in the country. So those are the attainable things that sit out there.
Yeah, and one final point I want to add to this is, look, at the end of the day, I know a lot of people are sitting there thinking, in the back of their mind the way I do, where it's hard to kind of grasp how good this team is. You know, and part of you are like, oh, Alan and Zach talking about winning the division and winning the AFC and stuff in the regular season. Like, it's such a foreign concept, especially if you're like a younger fan who didn't grow up in the Peyton Manning days and stuff like that. This probably feels so foreign, but I mean, again, I've been a pessimistic fan or pessimistic analyst since I've covered this. I've always told you guys to your face, like, what I thought. Last year's team I thought was way worse than what their record said. I thought a lot of these teams that the Colts have been way worse than what their record have said. This year, I'm telling you guys, this is a different football team. They are ready to go. They take care of business on Sundays, and every single thing from the analytics to the eye test to just how they're winning these games tells me this is a very good football team. So yeah, for a lot of people, I still see the comments here where it's like a brutal schedule, tough schedule down the stretch. You're right. You're right. It's tough for those other teams that have to play against the Colts down the stretch.
You know who else takes care of business on Sundays? Us right here on the Colts Squad Show. Thanks so much for joining us. We're your place for live game recaps following each and every Colts game this season, but we'll have a Wednesday show too, every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Tune us back in, and of course, listen to Jake and Zach every day right here on the Locked On Colts Network. We'll be back with you on Wednesday night to recap the injury report and first practice of the week and get you set for the Steelers. But until then, follow us on socials at Locked On Colts and check out our other great content on YouTube and TikTok, and we'll see you next time right here on the Colts Squad Show.